This episode of A Hit to the Head is brought to you by Better Fantasy. We will be hearing from them at the halfway mark of today's episode. Stay tuned for a special offer for them. But for now, let's roll the intro.
Hello everybody, welcome back to A Hit to the Head. This is episode 39 here on the show, and today we are once again bringing you more NFL action as we discuss what went down during week 4 of the 2022 NFL season and how it relates to us moving forward ahead in week 5. The weather outside is as you would expect it to be for October, little cold, little rainy, nice low overcast. Enough to put on a sweatshirt and snuggle up in a blanket at home with a fire going. You have a pet dog or cat on your lap. It's really just the ultimate vibe, and sometimes you take a nap for about 4 hours, like I did the other day. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about some football, baby. Let's get right into the action, shall we? The first game that we have to talk about was the Miami Dolphins playing the Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday night last week in week 4. Let's get into this. The NFL and the way it handles its concussion protocol, or lack thereof, is absolutely appalling. Players are supposed to have faith that the medical staff is there to ensure that they can get back onto the field as soon as possible, but not at the expense of their long-term health. I don't feel like that's asking for too much. However, let's go back last week to the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins. We talked about quarterback Tua Tagovailoa and how he went down with a concussion. Now, in the injury report, they listed him as, a neck and back issue, right? That was the official diagnosis by the medical staff. But you and I could tell from the eye test, that dude doesn't look right. That dude can't stand on his own feet without someone helping him. Even if it's not a concussion, this dude should not be playing for at least 2 weeks. Just by the naked eye, we can tell that dude's not okay. And somehow he clears. Somehow someone gives him the green light. Yeah, you're good to go, buds. Have fun. And so he gets hit again. In the Bengals game, when he went down, his head slammed onto the field. We saw the horrific scene of, his fingers crossing in front of him, and he really lost control of his upper limbs. That is a direct correlation towards neurological problems in the brain. It means you suffered a traumatic head trauma. Tua was ultimately carted off the field and rushed to the hospital to the head and neck trauma center in Cincinnati. Thankfully, he was cleared by the hospital and he was able to travel back to Miami with the team. The means in which the Dolphins and their neurological expert, if you can't tell, I'm throwing up air quotes in my voice, if you can't tell that's what I'm doing. The means in which they handled Tua's concussion is completely unethical. The unidentified consultant, they didn't release his name, he was fired, but so should everyone else involved in the decision to play Tua after the Bills game. Everyone who had a say in that decision should not have a job. In addition to their termination, their licenses should be, at the very least, suspended, and in order to be reinstated, they should require head trauma-related training. Because this cannot happen. Tua is lucky to be alive. That's how serious this situation was. He's genuinely lucky to be alive, and after this, he needs to seriously consider whether playing is worth risking his long-term health, because that's what's at stake here. This dude played an NFL game with a concussion and then suffered a major head trauma. Flat out, the NFL and the Miami Dolphins organization failed Tua, and they are directly responsible for what happened on that field. Like I said, I really wish we could have started the episode a little more positive here. But, some things they need to be said, and that was one of them. Moving on here, we're going to talk about the Washington football team. I'm going to call them that from now on. The Washington football team. That name really sticks with me. I love that. Washington football team went into Dallas to take on the Cowboys, and they lost on the road 25-10. Dallas improves to 3-1 on the year, while Washington falls to 1-3. Cooper Rush, backup quarterback for Dallas, continues to demonstrate that you don't need to be a physical specimen in order to be a quality quarterback in the NFL. You know, everyone wants the unicorn, the Aaron Rodgers, the Patrick Mahomes, so on. And it blinds them from the fact that you can get the job done well with a rusty, trusty steed. Moving right along here, we have the Seattle Seahawks and their absolute duel with the Detroit Lions on the road. The final score of this game was an astounding 48-45. You know, it's not every day you see a team put up 45 points in a football game and still lose. 45 points is a lot of freaking points. In other words, it's the equivalent of scoring 15 runs in the MLB or 8 goals in the NHL. It's a lot of freaking points, dude. Meanwhile, tight end TJ Hawkinson of the Detroit Lions, he is easily the most underrated player at his respective position. In this game, he had 8 receptions for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns on the day. How are ya? Ideally, your offense rolls with, 2 starting tight ends. One who is a great run and or pass blocker, and the other is a receiving threat. Hawk is the rare combination of both that you see in elite tight ends. We're talking elite tight ends. We're talking about, your Travis Kelce on the Chiefs, George Kittle on the Niners. Those are the kinds of guys that wind up in the Hall of Fame one day. TJ Hawkinson, this dude has that skill set, and he's really putting it together now. TJ Hawkinson is the real deal, and people need to start recognizing him. Next up, we have the Tennessee Titans defeating the Indianapolis Colts on the road 24-17. And you know what? I'm a fool. I'm a downright fool. I'm a fool for giving the Colts too much credit in their win against the Chiefs last week. I mean, what was I thinking? The Colts? Chris, get your team, man. Getting on me about, the Colts, look at them. They're turning it around. No, they're not. Any given Sunday. Ever heard of it? I guess I missed that in the briefing for the game. The Philadelphia Eagles just barely beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 29-21. Eagles remain the only undefeated team in the NFL. If I told you that at the start of the season, you would have called me crazy and put me in a straitjacket. However, all that is true as the Eagles, while they were shut out in the first quarter 14-0, they were able to come back in the second by putting up 20 points. And after that, they really just got control of the situation and never let go of it. I'm going to harp on a concern I had last week, and it's about consistency. For the Eagles scoring quarter by quarter, shut out in the first quarter, the 20 points in the second. Then in the third, they were shut out again and had 9 more points in the fourth. They need more consistency on offense. I'm going to relate it to this. It's a big issue I have, and, I see a lot of similarities here. It's when I'm making oatmeal. I tend to use way too much milk, and it ends up just being like soup. So obviously, as a result, I overcompensate by not adding enough. It's like I'm eating a bowl of Nature Valley bars, or just like a pit of sand. It's just so dry, it's gross, it just ruins the whole bowl. I need to find that consistency, the proper balance of milk to oatmeal mix, just as the Eagles need to find consistency with their scoring. If and when that happens, we'll be unstoppable. Anyways, trotting along here, we have the New York Jets headed into Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Jets got the win, 24-20. Jets, Jets. What more do you have to say, baby? Look at the Jets go, 2-2. Now, any other team you look at 2-2 and you're like, okay, whatever, it's 500. But for the Jets standards, man, that's cause right there to pop open some champagne, baby. Meanwhile, the Steelers, what are you doing? You cannot hit the panic button like you did on Sunday against the Jets. What did we just dedicate the last few weeks to, you guys? You cannot hit the panic button and play Kenny Pickett. He's not ready. You can't panic like that. Was an interception. Now, granted, it hit Chase Claypool in the hands, and he should have came up with it. But it was behind him. It was underthrown. It was just a bad ball. It was a bad spot, right? You know when he's not going to make that mistake? When he has a year to develop. He had 3 picks on the day. 2 of them were drop passes by the receiver and 1 was a Hail Mary. You know, how much blame can you really have on the guy? But you can't play him yet. He's just not ready. You're supposed to be a bad team this year. You're supposed to be brutal. You have to weather the storm. If you start freaking out and you're like, nah, we need to get a spark going. Let's put in our rookie. Yeah? Dude throws 3 picks. His motivation and, his confidence is crushed. How's he going to bounce back from them? Eventually you have a Sam Darnold on your hands. Don't panic. Ride with Trubisky, dude. That's what you have to do this year. Bite the bullet. Ride with Trubisky. Next year, Kenny Pickett, he's your guy. Who have more experience under the belt, who know the offense better, who know the NFL rules, and you'll have a better team to support him with. Right now, don't feed him to the wolves. He's just going to get eaten. Let's keep her going here. Let's talk about the Buffalo Bills and their win in Baltimore against the Ravens. Bills won 23-20 by securing the comeback with 13 unanswered points, including a last-second field goal. Bills improved to 3-1 on the year. Ravens are now 2-2 and even 500. The fact of the matter is, this Ravens team is a lot better than what they've shown us thus far. Getting shut out in the second half is completely unacceptable for this Baltimore Ravens team. I mean, this is a team that's supposed to make a deep postseason run. Okay, and you're getting shut out in the second half to a legit team, the Bills here. Okay, what's going to happen in the postseason? I get it. It's week 4. I get it. Things can change. You still have, 13 more weeks in the year? We'll figure it out. As time goes by, you keep saying that, we'll figure it out. By the time you know it, it's week 15 and you haven't figured it out. It's unacceptable. Good teams can't let this happen. You got to figure it out now so that it doesn't become a problem down the road.
Brothers and brothers. The NFL season is back. And with that, so is fantasy football. And ladies and germs, I got news. I have news. Let's be more formal here. Gone are the days where I'm repping the average Joes. I mean, they just weren't doing it for me. They just couldn't get the job done. I mean, for far too long, we were riding the back of the standings. We just couldn't get the job done. And so I'm moving on to greener pastures. I have started Team Globo Gym. I need a powerhouse. I need someone firm. I need someone that can rise above the rest. And I think Globo Gym is going to do that for me this year in fantasy. And with their help, I'm going to win some pretty sweet prizes at Better Fantasy. Oh yeah, Better Fantasy? It's the first platform that's enabling you to sync your existing fantasy league and bet on the matchups. I've been using this app, and I can't begin to explain how awesome this is. I mean, this is really an ingenious idea. You have sports betting, and then you have fantasy football. Boom! Smack them together, you have the greatest creation ever. It's like the Liam Neesons of sports apps. You know what makes this even better? It's free. That's right, Free, free, baby. What's better than that, man? Whole lot of muffin. It's totally free to play, meaning no matter where you live, you're able to get in on the action. It's basically like your traditional sports book, but instead of betting on an NFL matchup, you're betting on your fantasy league's matchups. Outstanding! You earn the app's in-game currency by completing challenges, and you use them to place bets. When you win, you're able to cash out for unreal prizes, and you're even able to raise some money for charity. I mean, really, does it get any better than that? I'll tell you what, it does. Listeners of this podcast are able to take advantage of a special offer. When you sign up today to create your free account, you can receive 3 times the amount of credits you normally would just by doing this. When it asks how you heard about us, you just tell them your friend from A Hit to the Head told you so. Head over to Better Fantasy right now. Create your account. Get in on all the action. Better Fantasy, BETTOR, fantasy.com. Once again, Better Fantasy, BETTOR, fantasy.com. Long live Globo Gym, and shout out to me for my spelling.
Man, I think this whole episode is just a rant. We're going to go on another one here. The New England Patriots lost in Green Bay to the Packers, 27-24. Again, another game-winning field goal in the last second. Go Pack, go, baby. Look, in reality, this was a very, very sloppy game for the Packers. They survived a resilient Patriots offense with a third-string quarterback under center named Zeppels? Something like that. You get what we're talking about here. A third-string quarterback. Third strings are typically guys who really just happy to be there. You know, they get paid $20 and, they get to drink a beer on the sideline. But for some reason, when they go into play against the Packers really just stoop down to his level and they let him just tear it up. First drive, this dude looked scared. He was freaking out, didn't know what to do. He saw like 20 guys on the field at once. But then as the game went on, he's like, you know what? These guys are buns. I got this. We might lose this game. The Packers have a lot of holes on their defense, especially against the run. In the draft this year, they had 2 first-round picks, and they used them both on defensive players, a defensive lineman and an inside linebacker, to help button up the run D. And it's not working. This whole process isn't working. They still have a ton of holes on that defense. They're giving up way too many yards on first and second downs. And it's, to be honest with you, it's not good. Packers need to figure this out because it's giving me a heart attack. Look, a win's a win, but there's a lot of work needing to be done for this Packers team. Speaking of wins, you know who got their first win on the season last week? That's right. Las Vegas Raiders. They beat the Denver Broncos 32-23 in Vegas. Sweet, sweet victory at last, even though they almost blew it at the end, but we're not going to talk about that. Look, Denver Broncos, they're just straight up embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. I mean, you look at all the noise they made this offseason when they made that blockbuster trade to bring in Russell Wilson from the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, that in itself filled news headlines for months over the summer. I mean, that was a big freaking deal. And then you get the offensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers, who Aaron Rodgers loved as his offensive coordinator. You take Nathaniel Hackett and you bring him in as your head coach. And so you're looking at this team, you're like, man, you got a pretty good team right here brewing up. And all this is just smoke. All we've seen is mediocrity at its best. Denver Broncos, I'm seeing a whole lot of muffin from you. You guys need to step it up from an entertainment standpoint. I mean, you guys are just not fun to watch. So many errors. Russell Wilson, he just keeps yapping on like, oh, no, we're going to get it together, man. I love this team, man. We're going to do it. We got this. Broncos country, let's ride. No, shut it. Just play football. All this mumbo jumbo, it's not helping your cause here. You're really just looking like a freak. It's time for your toilet bowl game of the week. The Chicago Bears went into New York City to take on the New York Football Giants. The Giants came away with the win here, 20-12. Giants improved to 3-1 on the year. How are you? Let's give them a little bit of a round of applause here. Everybody clap it up here for the Giants. Big Blue. Now this is yet another team down to their third string quarterback as Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor went out with injuries. However, running back Saquon Barkley saved the day as he had 31 rush attempts and 146 yards on the afternoon. Tip your hat to that guy right there. Now, can he do it again when the team needs him as they're looking down at the barrel without any more quarterbacks left? As for the Chicago Bears, they are the worst team in the NFL. I mean, there's no beating around the bush with this one. Bears, brutal. Justin Fields, can this dude get over 100 passing yards? Come on, dude. I don't know if it's the coaching. I don't know if it's the lack of skill on this team. I mean, surely a lot of that. Whole lot of muffin on that roster. But come on, put together something for the people. Look, someone's got to fill the toilet bowl game of the week slot, and I have no problem with it being the Bears. But give some other teams a shot to get in here, will ya? Guys, that's your toilet bowl game of the week for you. The Bears and the Giants here. Go Big Blue. We'll see you next week. Up next, we had the Sunday night matchup that we had been waiting for. The Kansas City Chiefs took on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road. The Chiefs came away with the win 41-31, an absolute shootout. This game lived up to the hype. Now, let's talk about this. How in the heck are you gonna, the Bucs, how the heck are you only gonna run the ball 6 times? They ran the ball 6 times all game. What? Dude, if you looked at that stat alone, not even look at the scoreboard, if you just looked at the stats and you saw this team ran the ball 6 times, yeah, they lost. Yeah, I don't even need to see the score. That team lost. Look, I get Tom Brady's the man. Tom Brady's the man. No one's going to say more than me. But you got to do a little bit more than throw it 52 times and run it 6 times. I mean, that right there is why you lost. Flat out. Bucs, you have so many things to figure out, man. I don't know where to start. Last but not least, we had the Monday night matchup. The LA Rams, the defending Super Bowl champions, going into San Francisco to take on the 49ers. But they were absolutely punched in the mouth as the 49ers won 24-9. Both teams are now 2-2 on the year here. The 49ers defense really came to life in this game. I mean, just listen to the stat line. 7 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, 2 fumble recoveries, 11 hits on the quarterback, and a pick 6. I mean, have a night. That defense, whew. Rough night to be on the Rams on offense, but we all know they'll be fine. One thing I want to talk about here in this game that was really the highlight here. A fan jumped over the railing, was running on the field, evading security left and right. I mean, this dude was all over the place. He was like Barry Sanders back in the day. But one thing he wasn't counting on, what he didn't expect, was for All-Pro and future Hall of Fame middle linebacker Bobby Wagner to lay the wood on him. I mean, this dude got rocked. This poor soul had no idea that Bobby Wagner was going to take out all of his frustration from this game onto this unpadded dude. I mean, hey, look, if you run onto the field in a game, you're fair game. I have no problem with a player just absolutely lighting up a streaker. No problem with it. In fact, I encourage it. So much fun to watch. I mean, that dude got smoked. Overall, I mean, rough night for the Rams, but hey, at least Bobby Wagner can have that to, rest his head on. Before last call, we're going to give you our top 5 games for Week 5 of the 2022 NFL season. That's right, our 5 games that you need to look out for the weekend. Now, folks, you need to lower your expectations. Don't get your hopes too high for the games this weekend because they're not very great. But we picked the 5 best for you here on what you need to tune into. Let's start it all off here with the number 1 on the slot here. The Pittsburgh Steelers going into Buffalo to take on the Bills at 1 o'clock p.m. Sunday afternoon. Again, that is the Steelers at the Bills, 1 o'clock p.m. Sunday. This should be no problem for the Buffalo Bills. They should handle the Steelers with ease. The biggest thing here for the Steelers, don't start Kenny Pickett. Can't harp on that enough. Don't start Pickett. Should be no problem for the Bills. That's why I'm rolling with them in this game. Again, that's the Steelers at the Buffalo Bills, 1 o'clock p.m. Sunday. Once again, I have the Bills. Up next, we have the LA Chargers going into Cleveland to take on the Browns, 1 o'clock p.m. Sunday afternoon. Again, that's the Chargers at the Browns, 1 o'clock p.m. Sunday. A lot of greasy color combinations here. I mean, you have the pale blue, yellow, white with the Browns, brown and orange. I mean, that's a really greasy color combo. But all that aside, I mean, this should be a really fun game to watch. You have 2 solid teams going at it here. And I'm going to have to side with the Chargers here just because Justin Herbert is my guy. This dude's an absolute stud rocket. McGill Stevens. This dude can do it all and more. I love how he plays. I love how the Chargers look. They've had a rough couple weeks, but they're going to get it together here with a win against the Browns in Cleveland, 1 o'clock p.m. Sunday. Again, that's the Chargers at the Browns, 1 o'clock p.m. Sunday. I'm taking the Chargers. Up next, the Miami Dolphins at the New York Jets. Like I said, people, lower your expectations. The Miami Dolphins at the Jets, 1 o'clock p.m. Sunday. Look, the Jets, they have a lot they want to prove. They have a lot of energy right now. They have 2 great comeback wins on the season already. They're 500. Zach Wilson, he's 1-0 as a starter this year as the quarterback. and head coach Robert Saleh, or as I like to call him, Robert Salad. He's puffing out his chest. He's still checking those receipts on those reporters. How are you? How you doing? We're 2-2. Check us out. Yeah, we're checking you out. Against the Miami Dolphins, even without quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, even with their backup Teddy Bridgewater, the Dolphins are still going to get the win here against the Jets. I mean, just plain and simple, they're the better team. They should win here, right? So I'm taking the Miami Dolphins over the New York Jets, 1 o'clock p.m. Sunday. Again, that is the Dolphins at the Jets, 1 o'clock p.m. Sunday afternoon. I have the Dolphins. At number 4, we have the Bengals at the Ravens. 8:20 p.m. Sunday night, primetime football. Again, that is the Cincinnati Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens, 8:20 p.m. Sunday night, primetime football. Hey, the Ravens need to get back on track here. All right, they need to get the train back on the tracks now. They got to get things rolling now. This defense needs to turn it around now in primetime football against their division rivals, the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals got a lucky win against the Dolphins. We're going to see if they can do it again against Baltimore, but not likely. I'm taking the Ravens here because this is the bounce back game for them. Again, that's the Bengals at the Ravens, 8:20 p.m. Sunday night, primetime. Again, I'm taking the Ravens in this one. Last but not least, we have the Las Vegas Raiders going into Arrowhead Stadium to take on the Kansas City Chiefs, 8:15 p.m. Monday night, primetime. Again, that is the Raiders at the Chiefs, 8:15 p.m. Monday night, primetime. Now, it's not much of a primetime slot here in terms of the matchup, the Raiders and the Chiefs. The Chiefs should have their way with the Raiders here, but it's week 5. It's like your filler episode in your favorite show. I mean, you need to have those in order for the other episodes to really have their value, right? So, ladies and gents, that just about wraps up your top 5 games for week 5 of the 2022 NFL season. Be sure to tune into those. They're going to be a ton of fun to watch. Ladies and germs, that's all we have for you today on this episode of A Hit to the Head. If you enjoyed this episode, please be a friend, share with other friends, families, neighbors, dogs, anyone you meet throughout your day, especially at the stores, Stop and Shop, ShopRite, Walmart, wherever you get your goods. Be sure to share the word, be a good Samaritan. If you didn't enjoy this episode, I'm holding it against you. Be sure to check out our website, ahittothehead.com, where you can read all of our cool blog articles on all things sports related, as well as view previous episodes of our podcast. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, A Hit to the Head, where we have all of our podcast episodes posted and fun Q&As that are sent in to us by you, the fans, you, the people. And lastly, follow us on Twitter at A Hit to the Head, where you can receive notifications on all of this fun jazz. As always, be sure to take care and be safe. And we'll see you all in the next episode.